Welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Special Economic Zones. I'm your host Ainsley Brown. I'm the Senior Director with responsibility for regulations, policy monitoring, and enforcement at Jamaica Special Economic Zone Authority. In today's episode, we are going to cover trade and money laundering. Now, zones, unfortunately, as Dr. Deans, the CEO of Jamaica's Special Economic Zone Authority likes to say, uh, zones, while they attract positive players, the same incentives, the same draw that pulls an investor to come to a zone or country are the same powers that draw negative players. So people will try to use zones, and zones have and are a target for money launderers. So they try to launder the proceeds of crime through zones, and particularly because zones have different trade laws than the rest of the economy, and in some jurisdictions have limited customs control. In the past, for example, in Jamaica, use Jamaica as constant examples, as you are aware. In Jamaica, in the past, our Free Zone Act gave limited customs control to customs. Under the new regime, our SEZ regime, it is clear that customs does have control. They don't charge duties on items that go into the zone for the most part. There's some exceptions to that where it's going to a zone user who, by jurisdiction, is physically present in a zone, but really they are fiscally outside the zone, so their duties are charged to them. But for occupants, developers, they are not charged duty on the items that they bring in. Only when they try to sell it into the domestic economy, that's when that's when duties may apply. So customs has full control. They don't charge duties, but they have control, and Jamaica is moving towards signing the revised Kyoto Treaty, customs treaty, and that's one of those things that's important, a prerequisite in effect to have in place in order for us to be part of that arrangement. Now, just imagine for a second. You may say, how exactly are money laundering and zones? How exactly does that work in trade? So imagine you have somebody that they're in arms dealing, or they're in drug trafficking. Now, what they'll do, because the banks are being monitored, and there's a lot of anti-money laundering legislation and initiatives all over the world, particularly led by the OECD and the EU and so forth. And the banks are being watched very closely, and there's know your customer requirements and things that people need to fill out just to have a bank account, or keep certain things up to date and declare certain things and so forth. So those are being watched. So it's much more difficult to pass money through. Not impossible, but much more difficult to pass money through the banks. So what can happen, or what does happen at times, is that they convert that money into goods, and then those goods are traded in exchange for payments. Basically, they become the substitute for cash, or they become the means by which money is moved in essence. So I've sold my drugs in one country, and I can't get my money out, so they send me goods which I then sell and get the money back, right? And then it appears to be clean when in fact it wasn't clean. So zones become a target because of that. Sometimes in some jurisdictions, the lack of customs control, and also even where there is customs control, the fact that duties aren't charged. So uh, goods go into a zone, and then they remain there, and in essence, When the money launderer is ready to be paid, you send it out. So zones become a target for such nefarious activity, unfortunately. Now, there are mitigating measures that can be put in place and are put in place, and the customs authority and the zone authorities have to work and do work in the case of Jamaica very closely. For example, the commissioner of customs in Jamaica sits on the authorities, the SEZ authorities board. That's an example. There's also reporting mechanisms and monitoring mechanisms. Customs has the ASICUDA custom system, where they can do risk-based analysis and so forth to pick up on certain issues. Also, the customs has cooperation arrangements or agreements with other customs authorities around the world. So intelligence can be gathered and then action taken. So if you liked what I had to say today, please like and share, or comment down below. If you want to see a future episode, or episode on some a matter I haven't covered yet, please leave a comment. I definitely welcome suggestions. And bye for now.